Good morning again, everyone. Welcome back to the KSR YouTube channel. Today, Mullet begins final assembly. Kind of something I saw in a comment that I thought would be really cool to do for the reassembly is to put a clock on the windshield, and we're gonna do a time lapse where the clock stays running and we just put this thing back together. We're gonna do front suspension, the engine. I'm not going to do the transmission quite yet because I've got to do an access panel for where the band adjustment is on the Power Glide. So it's going to be somewhere in here. And once I get the engine up in place, I'm going to measure back, drill the hole for that, and it'll be a lot easier to touch up the paint with the transmission out of the car and to fabricate a little panel that fits over that. And one other kind of little surprise that I think I'll probably show in this video. You know, me and Cleet been reading the comments, like we saw everybody commenting about the mirrored turbos and all that other stuff. So we might just make a little change there. I mean, it's a lot of work, but you know, maybe it makes sense. So anyways, that'll be later in the video. We're gonna get to work putting this thing all back together. Got a lot to do. So the next video we do on Mullet, I'm going to do like a kind of overview on the wiring stuff, who we're getting some of the materials from, what we are doing for planning, because planning is very important when it comes to wiring. Planning is very important when it comes to any build, but wiring is very important. So that'll be in the next video on Mullet, but today it's all gonna be about reassembly and a little surprise with the turbos. So let's get to work. All right, everybody, it's time to get started on this thing. Me and CJ are gonna go to town on this. Show off the mullet, CJ, show off the mullet. There's the mullet. That's better than Cleetus's, isn't it? Yeah. All right, so I have cheated a little bit. I've got most of our bolts ready. And pretty much all of our parts ready. So we know pretty much what we're gonna need to put this in together. We're gonna start with the suspension, then drop the motor in, then move on to the turbo system and show you guys our new fancy schmancy mirrored turbos. Yeah, you saw that. Wait around and see what I mean. Alrighty, well, engine, front suspension is all back installed. You may have noticed that I left the shocks out. Well, I put the shock in on the driver's side just to make sure it will go in with the suspension at full droop. But for both sides, I'm actually going to adjust the bump steer. I've got a kind of a tool that we can bolt to the hub, run the front suspension through its travel, and we can watch and see how the alignment changes through travel. We want to try and minimize that to as little bit as possible, so that while the car is lifting the front end, the tires are still pointed straight. When the car sets the front end down, the tires are still pointed straight. And we have gone ahead and already put a baseline alignment in it as far as the caster and the camber. And you can see I've kind of made some adjustments to the rod ends here and there to change the caster. So caster is how the spindle is angled this way from ball joint to ball joint, and then camber is the angle that way. So we are just a little bit under 0 on the camber, and I think about 5.5 degrees on the caster. So spindle laid back. Yeah, so that's got all that taken care of. We're gonna blast the turbo kit on here and then show you guys our new mirrored turbos. Be back in a minute. All right, so almost 2 o'clock, and stopped and got us some lunch and forgot to restart the cameras while we were putting the turbo system on. But you guys have seen us put the turbo system on, although we do have some new turbo stuff. Like I said earlier, I went through a lot of the comments both on my video about the turbos and Cleetus's video when he was here and we were talking about mounting the turbos and all that other stuff. Quite a bit of you were fired up about the non-mirrored turbo thing. So, you know, I gotta admit, sometimes we see when there's enough comments, we listen. I'm gonna introduce you guys now to Mullet's new turbos. There's something you guys have never seen before, all right? Present to you the Bradenton 5000 mirrored turbos. Can you see them? What have we got to do to see these things? Can you see it? They're mirrors. Like, Bradenton 5000 mirrored edition. And then over here it's the Bradenton 5000 mirror edition. What do you guys think? You like that? All right, so I made it a little funny. Hopefully you guys aren't all mad at me now. We are not changing to a mirrored turbo on Mullet, and I'll tell you why. So this car is, as you know, being built for race week and drag week and other long run, week-long events where you have a trailer where you're carrying spare parts. Well, the less different spare parts that you can carry, the better sense it makes for a drag week type car. You've only got to have one spare. It's a lot easier to find. This is a common turbo, especially for larger twin turbo stuff. And the mirrored edition turbos, like the real true, mirrored turbos, they're not as common. They're more expensive, and you got to carry 2 spares instead of 1 spare. So hopefully you guys aren't, like I said, hopefully you guys aren't all aggravated with me and mad at me. But, I thought it'd be a little fun to poke back at some of the comments and explain to you guys why we didn't do mirrored turbos. So, as you can see, everything is mostly back together. As far as the engine, I still have to put the steering column in. Tomorrow I'm going to work on wrapping up the bump steer, and I'll probably video that on what I do for setting up the bump steer. And I'm going to probably finalize the hole in the transmission tunnel for the access cover for both the bolts on the back of the transmission on the driver's side, as well as the hole on the side that's going to open it up to allow a band adjustment. Because with all racing power glides, you need to check the band from time to time, or it's going to slip. You hit the trans brake, the car wants to back up a little bit. There's just things that you need to have the ability to adjust the band, preferably without taking the entire transmission out of the car. So that's going to do it for this video. All right. Thanks again for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already. We'll see you guys in the next one.